Welcome to today's Student Success webinar entitled Financial Aid, Money, Myths, and Management. My name is Candy Frazier, and I'm the Associate Director of Financial Aid here at West Virginia University. The best place to start when we're talking about financial aid is, of course, at the beginning. In order to receive financial aid, you would need to apply utilizing the free application for federal student aid, commonly referred to as the FAFSA. To complete the FAFSA online at www.fafsa.gov, we encourage you to complete that FAFSA by March 1st. Applying by March 1st gives you maximum consideration for all the different types of aid programs. We also encourage you to estimate your 2014 taxes if they have not been completed. And if you have already completed your taxes, then you can utilize the IRS data retrieval, which in real honesty is a slick tool enabling you to pull your information directly from the IRS on the taxes that you would have filed for the 2014 year. There are several types of aid available. Grants are considered free money, and they are typically based on need. Grants can be offered at the state level, the federal level, or at the institutional level. Loans are federal direct student loans and then private loans. West Virginia University also has a small amount of what are termed institutional loans as well. Scholarships can come from West Virginia University or through a private source. For example, if you participated in certain clubs in high school, you may qualify for a scholarship through one of those clubs. The final type of aid that's available is termed as work, and the federal program that is an employment program is called Federal Work Study, and that permits students to be awarded a portion of the federal work study allocation that's provided to West Virginia University, and they have an opportunity to work hours in order to work up to that allocation. Determining your tuition and fees is quite challenging for students who are taking courses through academic innovation. I'm sure that the individuals who have taken courses realize that the university has some hurdles that they have to go over. In essence, what happens is we have students who take academic innovation courses, and in some cases they're charged too much, so there has to be a manual adjustment that's being done by the Office of Student Accounts. And generally that takes a couple of weeks because of the sheer volume of the adjustments that they're making. For general tuition costs, those are available at tuition.wvu.edu. Now, I did just mention previously that it is challenging, but it is changing for this upcoming fall. There have been many discussions on alleviating the issues that academic innovation students face by being charged too much in tuition and fees. And the university is working towards a fix so that when you register for courses and you are billed for those courses, you are billed for the correct amount up front. So what about summer aid? Well, keep in mind that an aid year begins with the start of the fall term and ends with the last day of classes for the following summer. So when you're thinking about, can I go to summer, or will I have financial aid still available in the summer, there's a couple of things that you need to consider. On a yearly basis, that year that I just spoke about, you are eligible for a maximum amount in student loans based on whatever rank you are in school and whether or not you are a dependent or independent student. So, for example, if you are a senior student and you are considered a dependent student, you are eligible for a maximum of $7,500 for what we term as the financial aid year. If you would borrow that full $7,500 in the fall and spring, you would not have any eligibility in the summer term. If you do have eligibility left over in your student loans, you also have to keep in mind that you need to be at half-time status. So let's talk about what is considered half-time status. For an undergraduate student, that is 6 hours regardless of the term. So fall, spring, or summer, you need to be enrolled at least 6 hours to be considered half-time. For graduate students in the fall and the spring, it's 4 hours, and in the summer, it's 3. A couple of other things to keep in mind when we're talking about applying for aid and being eligible for aid is that the classes that you take must be required for your degree program. Courses such as professional development or non-required courses, which will not count towards your degree program, they will also not count towards your half-time admission for financial aid purposes. So we certainly encourage you to plan accordingly. Now I'd like to switch gears right now and talk about borrowing loans. It's not unusual to see headlines in the news where it's talking about student debt. So I certainly feel like this is a very important topic to talk with when I'm talking with any group of students. So borrowing loans is actually your future income with interest. So these are hours that you haven't even worked or income that you haven't even earned yet, which will have interest tacked onto it. So let's go through and let's talk about a few other things that we get questions about. And that is, do you have to accept the full amount that we offer in student loans on your award offer? The answer to that is absolutely not. We really want you to sit down, budget the amount of money that you have, not just automatically accept everything. If for some reason you would accept all the aid and then realize that you don't need it all, you can certainly get in contact with the financial aid office and we can make those adjustments up front even before disbursement occurs. Well, let's spend just a few minutes talking about the cost of borrowing. So I've got a few examples here. The first one is for a student who borrows $15,000 at 4.66% interest. The payment for that for 10 years, so 120 months, this student is going to be paying $156 per month, and the interest that they pay in 10 years will be a little less than $3,800. Now you'll see at the bottom of the screen I have 252 hours. Now I don't really want to go into what that means, but you'll learn soon enough exactly why I've placed that on the screen. So now we have another example of a student who's borrowed $25,000 at 4.66% interest rate. The payment again for 120 months or 10 years is going to be $261. So you can see that the monthly payment did go up. You also notice that the interest that's being paid over those 10 years also went up substantially, up to a little over 6,300. And the number of hours also increased to 421. Our final example is for a student who has borrowed $50,000 at the same interest rate. The payment for 10 years is a whopping $522 per month. The interest paid in 10 years is $12,646. So you can see there is certainly a cost for borrowing, and it's not just the baseline amount that you're accepting. So now we have this figure at the bottom of 843 hours. So let me explain to you what this 843 hours means. If we have a student who's earning approximately $20 per hour, who works 40 hours per week, it's going to take them 843 hours to pay off just the interest on this $50,000 loan. So there certainly is a cost of borrowing. That 843 hours actually equates to 21 weeks working 40 hours per week. So there, again, certainly is a cost of borrowing. We want you to always consider how much you need, only borrow what you need, and then, of course, borrow wisely, because, again, it can cost you in the end. Again, I want to switch gears because I want to talk about what's called academic progress, satisfactory academic progress. As an institution that participates in federal student aid programs, we are required to have an academic progress policy. Our academic progress policy is really based on three things. It's based on a qualitative, a quantitative, and then the final thing is it's based on a percentage, and that percentage is 150% of what the normal time frame is to complete a degree, you are given 150% of what that normal time frame is in order to complete that degree program. So let me go and give you exactly what the policy is. So for our undergraduate baccalaureate degree-seeking students, a freshman is classified as somebody who has attempted between 1 and 28 attempted credit hours. In order to maintain academic progress standards, they have to have at least a 1.4 GPA. For a sophomore, and that is termed as 29 to 58 attempted hours, they have to have a GPA of a 1.7. Moving on, a junior, 59 to 88 attempted credit hours, they would have to have a 1.9 GPA. And then finally, for our senior population, 89 or more attempted credit hours, then they would have to have a 2.0. Well, you realize that's only one part of what academic progress is. The second part of that is they have to complete at least 67% of all attempted hours. For example, if you have a student who has attempted 100 hours and they have completed only 65% or 65 hours, they would not be meeting the terms of academic progress because it's an all or nothing. You got to meet all of these criteria in order to be in good standing as far as academic progress is concerned. The final thing that we use as a measurement is the completion of the degree program within 150% of what the normal time frame is. So generally, most of our degree programs are 128 hours to complete that degree program. So 150% of 128 is 192. So in essence, you can receive federal financial aid as long as you meet all the other eligibility criteria and you can attempt 192 hours to complete that degree program of 128 hours. Now for our graduate degree-seeking students, it's slightly different. The overall GPA for the graduate students is a 2.75, so obviously it's a lot higher than what we saw on the previous screen. Graduate students also are required to complete at least 70% of the hours that they have attempted. Before I leave that satisfactory academic progress, I do want to make sure that the audience is aware that if for some reason you are unable to maintain those academic standards, and let's say that you have an extraordinary circumstance or an unusual circumstance, you certainly have the right to appeal. We do have an appeal process where students can let us know maybe what had happened and how they are working to alleviate that previous situation so that they can become academically successful. So just keep in mind that although maybe you had a little bump in the road before, there is still the option of you appealing to get your financial aid back. If you're interested in any additional financial tips, certainly want to encourage you to check out our brand new financial planning page. This planning page has some really good calculators on it. It has a budget calculator, it has an interest calculator. It will also provide you with some really good saving tips on food and other purchases, just some ways that you can maybe cut your budget a little bit so you wouldn't have to borrow as much or make your money stretch a little bit further. We also have a Facebook and then a Twitter account. We'd certainly like for you to begin to follow us on both of those pages. We put a lot of information out there with financial tips and information and reminders about how to apply for financial aid. We will also put out there if we found out that there's some scholarships that students can apply for. So again, those are two wonderful places or actually 3 wonderful places online where you can find some really good financial tips. The contact information for the financial aid office for most of you is either going to be through telephone, fax, or through our email. I did go ahead and put our mailing address on there. I want to make sure that students are aware that they can contact us with any questions that they have about their financial aid. We really have a good, robust web page as well that helps students walk through the process of applying and whether or not they've got any questions about particular things, for example, like the satisfactory academic progress. At this moment in time, I'd like to open it up for questions. If there are any questions from the audience, I would be glad to take those right now. I'm not seeing anyone asking any questions. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining us for this webinar. And again, if you feel like there are other webinars which you would benefit from that are financial aid related, certainly feel free to send that information through the email that I have provided, and we will try to accommodate those requests. Thank you and have a good day.